Hello again, everybody. It's H3Bomb. I'm back to bring you some more interesting information. On my last video, I showed you some clips from a presentation done by Dr. John Henry Pang, a gender-affirming surgeon who gave a presentation at West Virginia University some years back. He talked about, and he seemed quite proud about the fact that he was willing to perform transition surgeries for patients, even for girls as young as 16 years old at the University of Pittsburgh, removing their breasts, hacking them off altogether. That's disgusting, and it's immoral. But I have a couple questions. Why in the world would West Virginia University even host such a presentation? I thought of a couple possibilities. Number one, they did that because they are educating their gender clinic providers about surgeons they can refer patients to. So keep that in mind. They're likely, or have been, referring young teenagers to surgeons out of state to have their breasts removed. Interesting. Maybe even young boys, I don't know. Or the other possibility is that they were training surgeons in West Virginia and WVU to do these surgeries. As far as I know, these gender-affirming surgeries aren't happening in the state of West Virginia, at least not yet, God forbid. But we don't want them to happen. They are immoral. All of the chemical treatment of youth is immoral, and I want it stopped. Those of you who are like-minded as myself, I hope you enjoy this video because let me tell you, after I made that last video, that channel, Rainbow Coats WVU, it disappeared the next day. Interesting. What do you have to hide, WVU? If you're so proud of the gender-affirming care that you provide, then your care and your integrity, if you're providing good care, compassionate care, honest care for your patients, you have nothing to hide. Why did the channel disappear? Well, whoever made the decision to remove or make private the channel, Rainbow Coats WVU, they must not have thought that I would think ahead and screen record and grab plenty of screenshots before I went public with the first video. But I did. Let me introduce you all to Dr. Casey Kidd and Dr. Jessica Perini.
Hi, my name is Dr. Casey Kidd. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a pediatrician and an adolescent medicine specialist. I'm also the medical director of the WVU Medicine Children's Gender and Sexual Development Clinic.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Perini, and I'm an endocrinologist. Was that voiceover convincing? Maybe not. Anyways, unfortunately, I didn't get a screen record of this portion of the video, but I did get a screenshot. In this part, the presenters talk about like how to make their gender clinics welcoming by educating their staff, how to be more gender inclusive with their language. I think they even kind of like hint at making them conform to the languages of radical gender ideology. So here are some slides with information from a paper that Dr. Casey Kidd co-authored. If you actually look up that paper, I believe one of the resources that they cite is WPATH, which is a global organization about transgenderism, and they guide lots of these gender clinics around the globe. And this slide here, I decided to use as proof that if they don't provide the quote gender affirming unquote surgeries here in West Virginia at WVU, then they at least refer for these surgeries.
And then I know we're running up on our question session, so I'll throw this one to you, Dr. Perini, to talk about billing and coding briefly.
Yeah, this isn't something that I'll go into in too much depth, but it is tricky. A lot of insurances, the majority of insurances are still biased and are, I mean, insurances don't want to cover much of anything if they can avoid it, of course, but this is an easily identified population that they feel they can discriminate against.
Okay, so Dr. Perini just made the accusation that medical insurance agencies are biased against trans individuals. And the reason she throws that out there, of course, is because they'll refuse to pay for health care or medications that patients don't actually need. And that makes sense. They shouldn't pay for things that patients don't need. They shouldn't pay for things that are not legitimate, care needs. That's wasteful spending. And it's unethical. It's a poor use of taxpayer money if it's paid for by Medicare and Medicaid.
So trying to not ever lie or be dishonest, but labeling something in a way that is a little bit less specific is sometimes helpful.
Less specific? What exactly do you mean, Dr. Perini? Are you saying you want to mislead insurance agencies?
So if I have a person who, say I have a trans woman who is starting on an estrogen, in my mind, completely legitimately, this is a woman.
Okay, Dr. Perini, what's in your mind doesn't matter. What the facts are is what matters.
With hypogonadism. So I code this as female hypogonadism. And, that could be a postmenopausal cis woman. It could be a trans woman. It doesn't really make it to the attention of an insurance person.
So as long as it won't make it to the attention of the particular insurance person reviewing the chart, you're allowed to mislabel and misdiagnose things on purpose. Is that right?
So I use female hypogonadism and male hypogonadism almost exclusively. You can also get by just writing hormone disorder or hormone deficiency. So I very, very rarely put gender dysphoria as my diagnosis in my note, or when you have to say the diagnosis and you have to type it in and then click when you're ordering labs. I almost never have it anywhere. And I don't have the word transgender. I don't have anything like that in my notes or in the diagnoses.
So she's talking about intentionally leaving out words like gender dysphoria and transgenderism so that the insurance doesn't catch that.
And, so it doesn't always work, but I have very little problem, relatively speaking, when I use these as my codes. So, or as my diagnoses, and then as those billing codes.
It's easier when folks are adults, I would suspect, and have their gender marker changed, because you can see how an insurance could flag a female hypogonadism for someone with an M on their chart. And so that's challenging, especially for young people who haven't had the opportunity to make those changes yet. Also, I can't use those to get a young person a GnRHA. They can't get a blocker on those because there's no kind of medical reason for that, because the blocker is going to turn off hormones. And so it isn't a treatment for any kind of hypogonadism. It is an inducer of hypogonadism.
Maybe hormone disorder.
And I've done endocrine disorder, like the very generic hormone disorder, but I'll still have insurance companies call me and say, well, does this precocious puberty, is that the hormone disorder? And of course it's not. And so it's complicated in young people, but I'm always down for creative options. So I'm going to employ some of those. I just wanted to throw this up here. Here's information about the pediatric clinic. We see folks until they are 26, all age less than 18. Ages less than 18 do require parental consent just to be seen. But of course, for all the things that we do. But we do all of this stuff. I work with an amazing team, including Dr. Stephen DC and Brianna Hayes, who's a clinical therapist. And our team is awesome and I love them.
Okay, so I'm glad at the end of that last clip, a couple more names were named, people who are involved in the gender clinic, because it is going to be important for all of us to keep lists of the people involved in this, the so-called medical professionals who should know better, because inevitably there will be people who regret when they come out of it, when they come to their senses, when they are ready to detransition and they want to direct their legal frustrations, maybe at their parents, but most of all at the medical professionals who should have told them no, who should have treated them far more ethically than what they were treated. Let me close this video by asking this final question. What is that word? There's a term for when medical professionals intentionally lie to insurance. What is that called? It's at the tip of my tongue. Somebody, please help me. Comment below this video and tell me what it is.